Okay.
I'm sure we'll have some stragglers coming in like we always do. So I think everybody's had a chance to chat with Leo Abramovich.
Abramovich, yeah.
Abramovich of Mekler Property Management. Leo has a lot of stuff in that head of his, and a lot of experience. So just from my few conversations with him, it's obvious that you know your stuff. Thank you, Katya and Carolyn, for the connection. And I guess we'll just let you go.
Okay.
And do you want questions at the end, or do you want questions in between?
So, yeah, like, first of all, if something's unclear, absolutely stop me and say, hey, what do you mean by that? Or can you elaborate? Like, this is more like an open forum discussion. But if no one's asking questions, I'll just kind of keep rambling. So I'll just go on.
Cool. All right. Well, you have the floor.
All right, thanks very much. So I want to just thank Irene again for inviting us, and Katya for introducing me to Irene. My name is Leo, I'm from Mekler Property Management. And the prime focus of today's session is it's going to be on tenant screening, tenant location, and some of the pitfalls that you want to avoid, because once you kind of encounter some of those issues and the tenants in, the landlord tenant is not a very friendly place for owners and for landlords in most cases. It takes a long time to get somebody out that's a problem tenant. So I'm going to get started a little bit about who we are and what we do. So we started actually back in 2004 buying investment properties, and that was my wife and I. And we were doing the whole gambit, whether it was renovations, finding tenants, dealing with vendors, all of the above. And then we started offering that type of service to clients throughout the GTA. And we have about 30 properties now that we manage in the GTA, and it's a boutique type of company. So we're not managing buildings of like 300 units. We're dealing with 8 plexes. We've dealt with 21 plexes, single family houses. So really, it's a niche that we focus on. And we've also done a little commercial as well. And where we kind of offer our kind of differentiators is very hands-on. It's a small company, it's a family-run business, and the clients and tenants are dealing with us predominantly. A little bit about myself, the president of Mekler Inc. My background, I used to be in tennis many years ago. I used to run tennis programs, so it's a whole kind of mix of dealing with people and then parlaying that to sales. I've worked in operations, worked at Loblaws as a regional manager, dealing with vendor management. I've also worked in companies like Salesforce.com. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, they're a pretty big software company, US based, but they're global. And all that's kind of given me a lot of experience with dealing with people, dealing with clients, dealing with vendors, and helped me build the skill set for what we do today. Now, getting right into it, the right tenant. So I know this isn't the nicest picture of the tenant from hell, but I'm gonna talk a little. I was gonna make it bigger, but I didn't want to scare anybody.
It's like a devil.
Yes. I was looking at Google Images. I'm going, okay, I'll just make it kind of small. But after meeting this person, you might have gotten that same image in your head when you go to sleep. We got brought in. This is just a scenario. This is the what if the proper due diligence vetting hasn't taken place. The income wasn't verified. There wasn't a credit check. We got brought in by a paralegal, and this is after the first property management company quit because they were being harassed by the tenant, and they said, we're not doing this anymore. So what happened was this person came in, she was recommended a referral. Referrals are nice. A stringent diligent process of vetting. And then the owner decided to self-manage, and there was a pretty crazy scenario what happened after when the tenant said, that's it, no one's coming into this place ever again, and try selling it. She kept changing the locks. He spent, at the end, this was a 2-year process, like about a year process when we took over, so it took an entire year of us managing her out, but $75,000 that owner spent in legal fees. He had to sell the property as is with no one ever seeing it. And it's a condo. And then he decided after this horrible process, after everything was done, to sell his other condo. So you ask yourself, well, what's in it for us? Like in terms of as real estate agents, you know, when if your client has to deal with the horror of the horrible tenant, they might never buy an investment property ever again. So, and you'll be getting the phone calls, or if you decided to kind of act as a consultant for them on the management end of it, or they'll be, it's a nightmare. Anyway, I'll just give you a couple of pictures, because this is the condo itself. This tenant decided to do some of her own renovations without the approval of the owner, removing the barnyard door, removing venting, just to kind of open up the kitchen area. I don't know what she was thinking. And then she did a TV on a swivel. So her, you know, just complete liberties of the place. And it took, I think, close to 30 grand of cost to get back up to speed.
Why would it take so long to get them up though? Once they do something like that, no condo board approval.
Well, here's the thing. You have the landlord-tenant board.
Yeah, but landlord-tenant board will rule in your favor.
Well, they did, and guess what happened? She appealed and went to divisional court, and the deal fell through. She was smart. So once you have vacant possession, I can get into the details of
yeah,
the
no,
right,
because
right.
but if you have vacant possession, great. But what happens when you don't? When they've appealed and now there's a stay, it's delayed, and now the deal is expired.
That landlord-tenant board is a total joke.
Well,
It is, that's
so
why.
so appeals.
Yeah.
Appeals, rescheduling, the tenant gamed the system beyond.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the condo board didn't get wrote.
The condo board fined the landlord. You had 5 different hearings for different things. One, the landlord was able to get the rent increase before the Liberal government changed
It was
the rules.
1991 version.
So she tried to appeal that, so there was a pending hearing for that. There was like, at the end of the day, the way she got out at the end was, yes, she was evicted by the board, but then when she appealed to the divisional court, she had to pay a difference. She didn't agree with her rental increase. She was trying to appeal that. And the divisional court said, if you don't pay us the $9,000 difference, you're going to be out.
Yeah, but the 1991 rule, you could raise it to whatever you want.
So exactly.
And so there's nothing, no appeal.
So you have all the practicality and all the logic and all the common sense in your corner, but then you have the landlord-tenant board on the other
Yeah,
side.
but landlord-tenant board, they can't. There's nothing to appeal because it's that rule is whatever you want.
Yeah. So that was the caveat, because she owed that money.
Yeah.
Then the divisional court, this is many months later, allowed, if she had she paid her $9,000, it would have still maybe gone in the courts, and who knows what would have happened. So if someone's strategic and someone spends the money on good legal advice, they can be there for a long time. It's not, you can say, oh, you can move in, tell the landlord, okay. The person who was moving in had to sign an affidavit saying that they were going to move in. There was like no bad faith.
Yeah.
All of that aside, it was supposed to be vacant possession. Guess what?
No vacant
No vacant possession. Deal falls through.
Yeah.
So this is, yes, the tenant from hell. She's kind of like, I don't even know if she's in the 0.001 percentile of horror tenants, but it just tells you even a little simple condo can be a money pit if you don't do the due diligence. Yes.
We're in the middle of a situation right now where the tenant was always lovely. Always, it's a condo, our buyer bought it. It was tenanted, and the owners gave her notice, and then she became a nightmare. Now, she's not doing stuff that's quite that bad, but she is fighting.
Don't give her
them.
ideas.
She's fighting them every step of the way. We already had to have 2 different affidavits signed by my client. My client's mother's moving in. The mother had to do an affidavit. They had a hearing middle of January that was postponed until next week. We're moving the closing date until March. And these poor owners, like they said, she has never been an issue. She was never an issue with the sale, like ever. It's the only ones that sold.
Somebody tipped her off on the landlord-tenant act.
Well, she's decided that it's not the mother moving in. She's decided they're lying. And it's like.
Yeah, no, once it gets to that area when it's in, they work with a balance of probability. I've been to the board many times, and they're in the business of keeping people in their places, so it's you just don't want to get there if you can, right? And I just want to kind of highlight, this is one scenario. There's many better scenarios when the proper vetting is done. But we were brought in to, this was one of the worst ever that I got brought in. I get brought in once in a while.
How do they do the form?
Sorry? Well, they removed the barnyard, the track system for the barnyard sliding door, and it just, I could, you know, fill the whole day with just pictures of this and just keep going through slides. But I just wanted to just give, a picture sometimes has a, 1,000 words, and you get an idea of what this is just a single condo unit, right? Not even a house. Now, how do we avoid this, right? Strategy on vetting tenants, finding that perfect tenant. Now, we also have to understand perfect. Well, people rent for a reason. So sometimes maybe they don't have enough money for a down payment. Sometimes, they're a basement tenant, and they make a certain income, and that's all they're going to be. So we have to kind of, we have a very strong vetting process, but then you also have to kind of weigh in based on the scenario. Would this person be a good fit? So it starts off with the questions. It starts off when you actually are booking the appointment, booking the meeting, and when you meet them. So it's kind of like a first date. Are they punctual? That's their first promise. If they broke that, and that's their first and best impression, what is that going to say about their other commitments? Are they going to pay the rent on time? Are they going to be responsive to you when you ask them to, you have to get a vendor in to fix something? Are they going to be flexible? How are they, even with making that appointment with you, that gives you a bit of an insight into who they are. So you have to kind of read into stuff, and the way I like to put it is, we're all like detectives. You put on a detective hat, and you try to kind of uncover, not just on a superficial level, okay, financially, they make sense financially, they have good credit, they seem kind of nice. You have to kind of get in under the weeds. And so the first question I always ask is, what's prompting the move? And you just stop talking and you just listen, because they will give you a ton of information. They will give you their whole life story sometimes, depending on who they are. And then sometimes that's all you need to hear. Because as agents, we have to kind of go, yes, on paper they're good, but what's my gut say about them? And we're all good judgments of gut. It's really important to get them talking, understand who they are. Even questions just about their career choices. When I used to be in sales, I used to go to CEOs and ask them, just kind of walk me through, like, how did you get to this position? Or, give me a little bit of an idea of your career path. It gave me an idea of how they made choices. Were they kind of impulsive? Were they risk averse? Did they stay in a company forever and they just worked through? Did they, but that all gives you an insight into who they are as people. So you kind of have to be psychologists. You have to dig on, get under the hood of the car. And then asking them simple questions like, what was your relationship with your current landlord and former landlords? Get them talking. Let them, if there's something they're going to hide, you'll get to find out later on when you talk to the landlord and see if those stories coincide. And then I'm not asking you to lean in like this close, but just take a whiff of them. Are they smokers? If you don't want smokers in the place, it's a little tougher in the wintertime, but you will definitely you'll get an idea. And it's another part of the vetting. Now, if you reject them, you will never give them a reason, okay? Because you can get in big trouble. Unfortunately, honesty is not the best policy. You have to just say sorry. Not me, but the landlord went in a different direction. You can say, you can be polite, you can respond to them, but you can never give them the reason because you're going to get yourself in trouble. Even legally, if they qualify on a financial standpoint, I'm talking about, let's say they're on ODSP, right, like their social assistance, and it shows that they can cover the rent with their social assistance, but they can't eat, they can't they can't pay for their phone, they can't pay for the cable, or anything else, or transportation. That doesn't matter to the board, because they can, the rent is covered by that base amount. Then if you rejected them based on financial, and you told them that, you're in a world of trouble. So you just say, sorry, we've gone a different direction. It's a good way to go. Any questions? Okay, sorry, I'm scaring everybody.
Yeah.
So it starts off.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, going back, I apologize. Then you contact not just the current landlord, but the former landlord's going to give you the most honest account, because the current one might be motivated to get rid of someone, a problem person, who knows. But the former one will talk to the cows go home. And you want to ask them some basic questions. You want to respect their time, obviously, but were they clean? Do they give notice? Were they paying timely payments? And would you rent to them again if you had an opportunity? Sometimes they say all these things, and then when you say, would you rent to them again? That's when you start talking and telling you why. So I'm sure everyone's using the standard ORIA application. You can delve deeper, not just a credit report, but get a full credit report when you're asking for that stuff. Because you don't just want to get just a little window, you want to get a beacon score. You want to see that everything is adding up. You want to see that with their application, that the address is the same. You want to make sure that their name is the same. You want to make sure that whatever they said in their work history, it shows up on the credit report quite a bit. And if stuff shows up that isn't there, that's when you become that detective again. You put on the detective hat and you start asking more questions. Employment history, at least 5 years, you want to know. Address history, at least 5 years. You want to know a lot. 10 years is kind of going over the top, but at least 5 years. And if you don't have 5 years of address history, and they were living at home, then you might be a student, you might have to get a guarantor, who knows, but you want to get a little bit of these people living on their own for a bit. Sorry, question?
The criminal record that you said shows up on the credit report, I've never seen it, so I don't know where to look.
No, the criminal record wouldn't. You just ask them the question, do you have
credit report?
have you ever been convicted of a crime or anything like that? Because then if they lie, then you find out, now you have grounds because they misrepresented themselves. It's just about putting it out there in writing so that if you ever needed recourse to go after them, or some type of, if you don't put it out in writing, it never happened. So that's kind of why.
Quick question, Leo, before we move on.
Yes.
The thing with the pets.
Yes.
So
I'm a pet owner too. I love pets. Don't get me wrong. But here's your challenges when people do have pets. From a property management standpoint, getting in and out of the place. You have to, if they have a pet, just ask them. So do you have a dog walker? Do you, how do you manage, how did you manage before when people were doing maintenance on the property? You have to at least dig into that, and if all things being equal, if everyone's the same and someone has a pet, unfortunately you probably want to go with the person without the pet in most cases, because it's just going to be extra work to deal with a pet.
what about if do they have to disclose that they have pets?
You know what, even if they say they don't and then they get one, they can do that. You can't stop them. But for your understanding, if they have a cat or a dog, and you have a unit that has shared venting, and you have someone who has allergies, all those types of things you need to understand, because that could be a big concern later on. So pets complicate things. I have a dog, love my dog, but I know that I would not come across as good of a potential renter as somebody who doesn't. That's all. I'm not saying you discriminate against them, but you don't tell them why. But if you have options, because our vacancy
Because
rates,
you actually can't, right, unless it's in the condominium
you
constitution.
cannot, unless the condominium act, unless it says explicitly no pets, you can't do anything, right? Unless you have a tenant in a shared unit, and they are deathly allergic to, let's say, cats or whatever, and you tell them that, and then they still misrepresent and bring it, then you might have some grounds. But you could even say that you're not a smoker, and someone starts to smoke, and you have a smoking policy in your lease. Try getting them out. I've seen it. Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. So all I'm saying is you throw in the kitchen sink, it helps, and then the act supersedes everything. So you have to fall back on that.
And if they say they don't have no pets, check on Facebook and see if they.
Well, you're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me. Oh, you've been to this presentation.
Slow down, David.
Okay, so beyond the application, current pay stubs. Why not an employment letter? Employment letter is okay, but I can make one up in 10
Anybody can make
seconds.
one.
Okay, cut, paste, turn into PDF, boom, here's my employment letter. Current pay stubs, a lot more work, a lot harder to make them look professional. Way better as a reference point than, and then they'll kind of break down their income and everything else. I talked about full credit reports. You have to act like you're a bank or an institution lending money. You have to see how much unsecured debt do these people have. Can they actually carry this? Why do they have a mortgage? Are they paying for spousal support? You have to know whether these people are going to be able to carry the rent. They might make an income of $200,000, But if their liabilities are way higher than that in terms of their expense, then it doesn't make sense. So it's not just about look at their income. That's not enough. It's never enough. Other sources. Notice of assessments, if you really want to dig deeper. And this is where you wear your detective hat. If you have questions and you're not sure, you ask for more, not less. And if they don't like it, then too bad. But it's not worth getting someone that you don't have a good gut feel. And if they have nothing to hide, why wouldn't they provide this stuff? They can, blur stuff out. If they're self-employed, it's always a big question I get. How do you handle that? We'll ask for T1 generals because that'll give a good breakdown of how the business is doing. Is it healthy? Because a lot of self-employed people aren't declaring a lot of income depending on how they're managing their business. So their NOA might not be a good representation, but if their business is healthy, that helps. Bank account statements, a few months worth, you see how much they have in the bank. What happens if they lose their job? If they have zero for the last 3 months, everything clears all the time, or are they going to have to go into debt every time something happens? So, it's just about risk mitigation. And then obviously the ID, and when I talked about debt service ratios, it's kind of, as I said, when you look at the credit report, when you get an idea of what they have in the bank, you kind of play with the numbers and you're almost like a lender. You have to think about, would I let these people stay in my own house? That's kind of the mindset you have to have. Social media check, I like that. You'd be surprised what people post, especially younger people. Wow, their social media footprint is insane in comparison to older people. You can find YouTube videos of their house and what they're doing, and if they're partiers, or what some of their crazy activities might be. It's, I know, delving a little into the private world of these people, but why not if it's out there? Like, they're not stopping you from it.
Moving into your house.
Yeah, they're gonna move into your house, your client's house. You wanna make sure you know who's moving in. Just keying in their phone number or their email address. Sometimes they just post stuff on forums. You see how they are. You see how they handle confrontation sometimes. All these things give you insight into how these people think and who they are. It's kind of scary, but you guys have to be detectives. That's what you have to be. And the last one, which nobody ever checks, is the bed bug
I
registry.
do. Sorry, I'll make that background.
Good.
And that's how I got my clients to not go into a building. Because I was like, do you know that this building is infested with bed bugs? You're not living here.
There you go.
Yeah, and then
There
like,
you go.
really? And then, yeah.
Well,
Well,
so talk about it. What is that? I have no idea.
It will turn you off. You will not want to go into most buildings in the city. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. No, it's
It's
huge.
true. No, that's true, because even if you
Always check
review
it.
buildings,
Yeah.
rental buildings,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a bed bug history.
There'll be one unit that had it or something.
Yeah.
It's
So,
not a great site. It's a really poorly maintained site.
yes,
The most recent ones will show. The search criteria
Go
sometimes
into
doesn't
bed
work,
bug
sometimes it
registry.
does. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
Yeah, but anybody
Google
can
the
post that.
apartment building.
sorry?
I can post your house like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Automatically.
So you can then file to,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
All
Who
I'm saying
maintains
is,
this? Who puts the site together?
it's, I don't know, I've never understood who's actually maintaining it, but they have it
It's
in the
not modern.
UK, New York, they have all these other cities in there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's also good for hotels.
hotel, yes.
Really?
I stayed, this was the crazy thing, so I was on the weekend at a Motel 6. For my son's hockey tournament. The only place, we were in London, it was the only place we could find that had a pool. And I checked the bedroom. I was just like,
I do that every time I go into
and I
a
told him, I said,
Sheets
regardless, I
off.
said, don't put any of your equipment on.
Right off the
everything,
mattress.
Yeah.
We took everything, because the whole team was there. I'm one of the co-coaches, so like,
Be in your car.
I'm not gonna be like, guys, you stay here and I'm going somewhere else.
I'm
Like,
going to the Ritz.
we're there. It wasn't even a whole Motel 8, it was a whole motel. There's like grades of motels.
So that place had bed bugs?
It was lower, it was lower.
Toronto is the bed bug capital of
And
Canada.
I guess it was
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it is, yeah, it's
Over
ranked.
2,200.
I do that to every hotel I go to,
Hey,
doesn't
doesn't
matter
mean
what
you have to
hotel
bring
I'm in.
Salt, though,
First thing I
because,
do,
like,
We should look
My,
at
the
my
sheets,
now
and I
husband,
pull up the
when we were
mattress.
dating, lived in a building that got bed bugs, and
I did
you know, they dealt with it, they dealt with it
15 years
really
ago,
well,
my
they
sister
dealt
and
with it
I.
professionally, and.
Absolutely.
But
And
I
I
was
to
in
tell you, I
Paris
deal with
right now.
properties that have
So
had
I kept saying,
bed bugs,
"I'm
and
sure
we
there's bed bugs."
dealt with
Be
it.
from the
It's a
sand.
very costly process,
Oh, yeah.
and it is an intense process, and you need everyone on board. And
Because we were
God forbid you have a hoarder in that building, then you have some problems.
Nothing wrong with
And
it.
one thing we learned too, that if you are seeing places and you see like a white chalk, like along the door line, that's normally a sign that the building's being fumigated, because they chalk the doors to prevent
It
spreading.
could be cockroaches.
So when you said chalk,
Cockroaches.
is that just like chalk?
Literally
that?
like a white
Because
chalky
the bugs
line.
won't
It's
cross
chalk
the
line.
line.
That's for
Yeah.
cockroaches
So-
though, that's not for bed bugs.
It was for bed bugs too.
Really?
Yeah.
So the idea is not to be, well, we'll move on with the questions, but the idea is not to fearmonger and scare everybody, but it's just about having that awareness and just taking those extra steps. My father-in-law once told me, and it really makes sense now, but he said, the hard way is the easy way, and the easy way is the hard way. And if we do the due diligence and really spend time, like think about it, Toronto's got a less than 1% vacancy rate. We have a lot of, if we price it right, we have a lot of people that are gonna be out there looking for that property. Why not, instead of getting it done transactionally, really go through that process? So whether we do it or whether you do it, at the end of the day, it's something that really, it's like a science. You have to really apply a process and a formula. And we offer this to a lot of our real estate agents that refer clients to us. We find the tenants, we start that relationship right from there, we maintain that relationship. When those clients want to buy their next investment property, we relay it back to their agent and say, hey, your client's ready to buy again. But whether we do it or you do it, really follow a stringent process. And you guys can always call us if you have questions about these things, but it really does make a difference. I get to live it every day. Any questions?
Do you use rent check?
I don't. I use tenantverification.ca because they sometimes post extra stuff if there's LTV stuff happening. They'll show that there's a hearing or so it's kind of and then they have like a Rammer database. It's
rent check does too. You can put
Verification.
yeah.
Say
Yeah.
that.
What is that? What is that, Leo?
It's a third party. So if you're gonna do, so typically you can get someone just to do a full credit report for you. You can go to TransUnion, Equifax. But if you're going to do it for somebody, if you're going to do it for a client, I like to go on tenantverification.ca.
And what is this? What does it give you in addition?
It gives you, sometimes they'll give you extra information about if there's like pending hearings and stuff like that, or they're suing somebody, there's litigation or something.
On file for that particular person?
Well, it wouldn't be a file, it'd just be like, there'd be like a line item and stuff like that. So it just gives you a little extra, but rent check does that.
Is there a fee for that, or?
Well,
Yeah.
they'll charge $24, so just like what an Equifax would, but
And they will provide a report, like a report for you as well?
Your report is coming from Equifax at the end of the day. They're
Yes.
just kind of a service that,
That will add an additional
yeah,
check?
they're like the bridge, like another broker for Equifax or TransUnion. So you can still use, you're still getting an Equifax report, but then they'll also have a grading, and they'll say poor, good, rather than just a score of 834, you're going to get excellent.
That you get that from Equifax now, right?
You do now, you do.
So,
You're right.
but what you're saying, it's tenant verification, you get that plus?
You get some extras, yeah. I find that it's got more than just going on the Equifax website. It gives you a lot more.
So for example, an Equifax report with a score, you're paying $34.95 or something. So you're saying you could
It's
go.
26 then.
26 or 25.
Rent check charges 30, I think.
Okay, anyway, so going back to, you're saying if we go to tenant verification, you'll get the Equifax report?
Yeah.
And additional
You get
information
the extra information, yeah.
for less money?
The last time it was about 20.
Well, whatever,
Six, yeah,
comparable.
it's gonna,
Comparable.
maybe but it's gonna be around 30 at the most, but it
Even
won't be
still.
more.
Even still.
But I usually have the tenants provide that. I usually have them run a full report, and I've seen enough that I can tell whether it's been doctored or whatnot. And then that's the other thing, make sure that the ID, if it's not the same as that report, something's not, And so the other thing is, interestingly, with the whole human rights code changing, you have to be extremely careful how you address anybody. You have to address them the way they're asking to be addressed. There's a whole, that could be another.
Can you give us an example of what you
Well,
mean?
some people refer to themselves as they, some people are transgender. You have to be extremely careful, even when you're writing something, because if you miswrite it and you say, well, now he did this or she did, anyway, just being careful.
Just use they all the time?
The
Well, no,
did
it's
this?
yeah, they is if you're not sure, but some people want to refer themselves as, there's 21 different,
Oh, lovely.
so you
Wow.
just go on the human, Ontario web. I
Who
think
got
it's-
crazy?
Anyway, it's gotten pretty intense, and legally, if someone's asking to be addressed in a certain manner, and you're not addressing them the way they're asking, then you could get fined. That's all. I haven't, but I'm just saying,
Wow.
could be done.
So we've run into a problem in the past before when we've represented both the landlord and the tenant.
Mhm.
So landlord approaches us as a past client and says, I'm gonna rent my place out for a few months, help me find a tenant. We're saying, great, great, great. Then the tenant starts having problems with the landlord getting stuff fixed, getting a hold of them, like, and they start coming to us. And we try and, again, go to the landlord and
Yeah.
like work between it, but we get nowhere too. Like, how can we salvage that relationship? Because we've then lost potential buyers down the line because they've been the tenant and they don't want to deal with us because it looks like we've done nothing.
So that's a great question. So one simple answer could be hire a property management company, so you're not constantly, like, we're getting the landlords and the tenants constantly. We try to find a happy balance, but the agent then is then used as the investment consultant, and they no longer have to deal with maintenance, this, that becomes, you stop being that target. And so we become the, not that I want to be, but the brunt of everyone's kind of anger and intention. And we also have risk mitigation strategies for both parties. And we coach them in a way where we coach the landlord saying, here's what the rights are, here's what you have to do. And we coach the tenant, here's what your lease says, and here's what your rights are as well. So that's part of it. And that way you can spend your time rather than answering phone calls, you can go and sell properties, right?
Yep.
So that's a big advantage of having a part of your team, a property management company that works with you, that's loyal to you. Because understanding that, yes, if we're going to list a property for somebody, it's going on MLS because we want to give them the most marketability, but when they're ready, that client is ready to buy another investment property, we contact the real estate agent and go, hey, your client's ready. But it takes away the tension, right? We're always in between, there's always an issue and someone's upset, and it's about managing expectations. And we're brought in a way where we're kind of like, we don't have any bias towards anybody. Yes, we're kind of hired by the client, by the landlord, but we fired landlords that were unreasonable and that were doing things that were dangerous to tenants. We said, look, we can't work with you guys because you're not actually doing what you were supposed to do. And I don't want to be on the front page of the Toronto Star. That's what I told them, and so that was it. So it's better not to be in the middle. It's better to not do what I do. It's better to be the agent and go, hey, let's buy another one.
So Leo, you and I have had emails back and forth about this. This was a case I think last year that we had, and our client, like our seller, our landlord, is absolutely a bad landlord.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely wrong in virtually everything. So that was unfortunate for us. But if I've had some challenges, trying to promote a proper property management rather than, okay, we'll put it on MLS for you and you have to do all the work and you're still paying us a month. Like I'm doing my best now to phrase it, to make it so unattractive that they won't hire us. And 3 of them just in the last like 2 months said, no, it's okay, you can do it.
You need to list the property or?
Yeah, to list the
Yeah, but not to
policies.
maintain it, not to act as your property management.
No. But
Yeah.
even just the showings and the vetting of the tenants and dealing with the questions and and then what if something goes wrong?
And
Mhm.
yes, you're to blame.
Well, and like the last couple of times, I've actually said to the client, well, if anything goes wrong, we can't help you, whereas a property manager can.
Yeah.
Are you giving the information to the landlord to decide on the tenant?
Yes.
Yes.
Information,
they
all the
always make the call.
references,
Yeah.
you do it.
I wonder if we can actually say we don't deal in leases.
You could,
Oh, you
sure.
can, sure you can.
Well, you can.
Sure,
Lots of people do.
Yeah, so
But if they're
Because you know what,
investors-
I did it for a friend of mine who bought the condo with me, and it was great and fun, but I don't think I would do it for the next person.
Well, don't, never say never. I have a client who owns
Yes.
about $100 million worth of of properties, right? Her
I
properties that she
understand.
rents out are 18,000 a month, 16,000 a month, 12,000 a month. So I want to take care of her, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I know.
I'm not crazy about leases
But it's
either,
not, but it's not a business that I wanna stick my nose in at all.
well,
Well, I think
Maybe
everybody,
in a situation like that, but in most situations.
I think everybody's different, and I think you have to acknowledge what your business is and
that's
where it is. I
right.
don't think there's a blanket statement.
There's no kind of, you should do it like this or do it like that. You have to do what you're comfortable with, and hopefully this will give you some of those tools that if you are gonna go and rent out the place, that you can kind of, if you missed something in, you know, your toolbox that you found here, great. That's kind of the whole point of this. But it also shows that we can help facilitate that. If you were too busy and wanting to actually sell places and buy places with people and don't have the bandwidth, well, now you have someone who could actually kind of fill that void. Plus, sorry to interrupt, I'm gonna get a question, is we've been brought in on deals a lot of the time. So you bring an investor in and you go, hey, here's Leo from Mekler, he's part of the team. And what he does, you don't have to go with him, but he's another set of eyes, you're gonna be there, and they can help kind of manage. So we help close the deals because we'll look at the place. We're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, don't do it. Like, we're gonna help facilitate that sale, and we're just there as hopefully if they are gonna, you know, want to not manage it themselves, maybe give us a call. But it's just kind of, you could ask them, is it okay? I have a property manager that we work with, it's boutique, they deal in this space. Would you want them there? You meet them on site, it's kind of like a little interview, see what type of questions they ask the inspector, we bring them in on the inspection maybe, and then, you know, we can take a look and go, hey, we're here to help.
Can we, obviously, one of the aspects being here is the opportunity of building business as well. What can we share to a client, that a property manager, let's say for a condo, there really isn't a lot of property managing going on from month to month. Maybe it's turnover on tenants every couple of years. What would a cost be to the client, or what do we say, you know, for future, for, let's say it's an agent who doesn't want to do it, we recommend Leo. Can we give them an idea? Is it like 10% of the rent? Is it?
Yeah,
That's what my question is.
Yeah, so condos, so condos we charge 95 plus HST for the condo units, just a month, yeah.
$95 for nothing.
It's cheap.
yeah, it's cheap.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's cheap
And
because
what does that cover? Is that like?
It'll be worth it when something comes
that's dealing
up.
with the rent collection, that's dealing with the scene.
What's your time worth?
So, so based on the model of how the client wants, some clients, they give us a float, we work off of the float, so if we float something, we'll work off of the float. If others, we use the rent as our float, and then at the beginning of the following month, we reconcile, and then we just do direct deposit into their account. So based on, that's just a condo. Houses, we charge 150 plus HST, and then duplexes 220 plus HST, and then we add 55.
What about like a commercial building with like a commercial unit, and
Commercial's-
like 2 apartments?
Commercial's different.
Okay.
So
very
we go off of rent,
Oh, okay.
like a percentage of the rent for the commercial units, and then we go off of the residential model.
Okay.
So it's kind of a hybrid. And we, those types of buildings, well, most of them, we want to always see them before we even quote it out. But that's kind of your baseline pricing. Now, you give us on board with a problem tenant from the get-go, and we ask for full disclosure right off the bat, that's a different model. It's an answer per hour charge. It has to be. They have no idea, well, maybe it's, it is, they, you know, the landlord tenant board doesn't acknowledge emails as legitimate ways of giving someone notice if you get, like, you're gonna go to the place. If they acknowledge it, great, but what happens if they don't respond to your email? So you gotta go physically deliver notice, do it legally, not like post it on the door, how some people do, which is not considered legal. And you have to understand all those little things, and then just the drive alone, it's an hour sometimes, in the city, right? So there's time, like, problem tenants are different model. We get brought in specifically for problem tenants, and until they're out, we charge that model. That's terrible, but that's what it is.
Could we just, I'm trying to think of a plan, like in this situation we had Irene with the bad landlord and stuff. If we were to be doing leases for clients representing, again, both landlord and tenant, could we say to the landlord, you know, part of our deal is that you're going to be paying X amount a month for this service with you guys. We do have this property management, so factor that into your rental cost, and then you guys sort of pick it up from there.
Yeah. we're-
That's a good way of actually
It's actually
Because
really
promoting to
doing it.
the
And
client
then the
right
onus
in.
is off you.
But it's
Yeah.
a smart approach. Like I
Yeah.
can tell you, when I used to sell software for Salesforce, and you deal with some mid-sized businesses that have tight budgets, and they're like, well, we'll buy the software and then we'll implement it. I'm like, not a good idea. You're gonna buy the software, then you're gonna be calling me to try to help you implement it, and I pretend I don't know what I'm doing with the stuff. So you need to factor into the whole model a property management or a consultant fee to go out and implement the software or to help manage that property and execute it, because it's not so simple. You think it's just a condo. I just go and rent it out, and then you get a scenario like that. So it's not a huge cost. People think it's like a crazy amount of money. It's a write-off, right? You get a proper invoice and receipt, and you get to write it off against your income. It's like peace of mind. Like whenever I ask people, like, you walk, it's just like sales, right? You ask people all these questions, open-ended questions, and then you start to go and get into what are their personal drivers. Because you can, when you sell, you can sell to a problem, and you can maybe convince some people. You could sell to save money, time, sure. But if you can understand the personal drivers, that's real selling. And it's the same thing with property management. You have to understand, if they're going to be in Florida vacationing, do they want that phone call in the middle of the night? My pipes froze. I dealt with 4 of them over this weekend.
Well, plus what are they gonna do, right?
Yeah.
At that point, now they're gonna chase some trades down to see.
Yeah, and guess what? How responsive trades are?
Yeah.
When everyone's pipes were frozen.
Right,
So
and you have no relationships
Yeah,
with
so-
the trades.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap this $95 a month in my head. I'm thinking, okay, 1-bedroom condo, you're renting it out in the city for $2,100 a month,
Add
cash
100
flowing,
bucks.
$21.95, whatever.
Yeah.
But your point, the point
Yeah, you wanna
being,
add more
are you
percents.
now the one, you don't need an agent to help with changing the tenant? Let's say after 2 years, a new tenant is needed. Do you take on that, getting the new tenant, and do you charge them
So based
over
on,
and above?
that's a
or-
great question. So based on that relationship that you have, and the kind of the expectations you set forward, some agents want to continue to rent out the units for their clients, so we give them the first right of refusal. We can call the agent and go, hey, tenant's moving out, they've given us their 60-day notice, do you want to go out and rent it out again? If not, we'll do it for them, but we charge them, of course. Because we have to pay a cooperating agent, it's going to go on MLS.
Yeah.
Are
you an agent?
So my wife, she's an agent, but as mentioned, because we have to be able to market stuff on MLS.
Yeah.
So, and so any agent we've ever worked with, they have the first right of refusal. So do you want to rent it out? No. Just like, let's say you're a client, you're a $100 million client, this person's leaving, you get a phone call. And then we work together on, okay, the place might need to be painted, the caulking in the bathroom is kind of going a little, and we work together. Or if you're like, I'm busy, can you rent it out? We'll take care of it. Yeah.
I'm still grappling with the 95.
It's really
I
good,
own
that much.
properties, and I'm trying to figure this out and trying to figure out how,
$1,200
What?
bucks a year.
yeah, but it's 1,200, but what are
It's a
you?
write-off for you as
It
a
doesn't matter,
landlord.
I'm asking
She
the
wants to know what
question,
it's
what are
included.
you doing for
For
them?
it, okay, that's
Oh.
great.
Like,
Okay.
that's what we're not
Just the basic.
establishing, you're not renting it, you're calling the plumber for me if we have a problem? Like
It's-
what,
Yeah.
let's
no,
talk,
no.
wait, let's rephrase this, this is in a condo building 5-10 years old.
Yep.
So I'm trying to understand, because I have clients, and I'm in
Yeah.
a scenario where we've
So
been
what's
asked,
the value? What's in it for,
like, what am I telling them, what are they getting $95 for?
So,
Or they're,
yeah,
yeah.
so first of all, we can do all the rent collection. So if, let's say that person's late by, the second day, are you gonna, or is the client gonna drive over and give them an N4 notice? What happens if they're disturbing other people in the condo, or they're doing things they're circumventing the act in their building?
okay.
And who's giving them the N5 notice? Who's managing that process? When it comes to, that's just from a legal standpoint. Do they understand the act? If they have to go in and facilitate even just, let's say, we facilitate every 6 months checking the batteries and smoke detectors of carbon monoxide and smoke detectors, changing filters. There's a cost to the client, they pay for that service, but we facilitate that. We're the ones who give the notice, we're the ones who make sure that the tenants are taken care of. Even in a condo, you're right, a lot of the time, it's not a lot of stuff. That's why we charge $95, we don't charge $300.
Do you guys pay for the applications to the landlord tenant board, or?
Or the 95, or
We,
does it never?
all the notices, even the rent increase, the N1s, we take care of, there's no cost. It's just we print it out,
Okay.
we deliver it, and that's it. But when it comes to, they've repeated and you have to go file for an L type of hearing, whether it's, it doesn't matter, L1, it doesn't matter. We then work, or we recommend paralegals. We used to be able to, years ago, they used to allow us at the board to go out and, on behalf of the client, be their agent. Now we're,
You're supposed
at
to be
the
a
board,
you're supposed to be a paralegal.
yeah, but now it's, you have to be part of the Law Society of Upper Canada. But
Or a
we
family
will
friend.
go to the board, a lot of our clients don't live in the country, and we will go to the board as representative of the landlord, but with a paralegal. So it's not about, when everything's perfect, and you got perfect tenants, and there's no problems, and the place was just built like whatever. Interestingly, when you say, okay, brand new build, how many, like, the first month of Terry on new home warranty, and things happen, and issues, and pipes burst, which we've dealt with. Who's dealing with that relationship with the actual property management company that's supposed to fix things internally in the building and the tenant? Does the landlord want to get involved in all that? Once we're approved as the approved vendor of the owner, we can do that on their behalf. So it's not about, you know, if everything is perfect, you wouldn't even need a plumber. You wouldn't need an electrician. You wouldn't need anybody. You wouldn't need a doctor. But what happens when something goes wrong? So it's that when you pay for insurance, you're paying for that peace of mind.
I needed you to explain that to me and others, because I
Yeah.
think,
No, it makes
What about
sense,
a home,
because
like what
you'd
we're
think a condo, it's just a condo. But what happens, we dealt with a scenario where clients, an agent didn't close the door in the middle of February for the balcony when they showed their client. Or they closed it but not fully. It swung open, their pipes burst, and from their heating system, the coil burst, leaked down, ruined their floor, the 4 other floors down. Guess what? Owner didn't have insurance. I don't know why. The owner didn't have insurance. We had to manage the renovation and fixing of 4 separate units. Now we charge for project management. If it's an expense over $1,500, we get multiple quotes, we get vendors, and we supervise and we come back and forth and manage a budget. So there is a charge for that. That's outside of that management fee. But you think the owner who lived in, he was a pilot for Emirates. Do you think he'd want to go and just sit in Toronto for like the months and manage that process? Like, so that's the type of stuff that even in a condo things could happen. Like they always do. I can do a whole thing of horror
Yeah, I'm
stories
sure
and
you
problems that occur that we never think of.
I
So
think comparing it to insurance is the right comparison, because you know, when you need it, it's too late to get it. And you just never know. And a lot of times you pay for insurance and it has absolutely no use to you until the time when it finally does, and then you're like, thank God I have it. Yeah.
But the other thing is because we're also investors, we understand the model. So we try to ask, well, what's your plan? Are you going to be out of the market in 5 years from now? Well, maybe you want to do like an 8mm laminate rather than a 15mm, because it's going to save you X amount on your renovation costs. It's still going to look good. It'll hold up for 3-4 years. Anyway, it's things like that that we kind of become strategic as well in terms of advisors, because we understand the mindset of an owner, of an investor, not just like, hey, we're here to just keep the lights on and make sure that the place doesn't burn down. That's not what we do. We do more than that. Like these floors, I'm looking at them, I'm loving them. They're vinyl, it's water resilient, it's Stainmaster at
And they
Home
look
Depot. Anyway, it's good stuff,
Easy to clean.
look good.
Yeah.
right? You get water on them,
Yeah.
right? They're not gonna be like laminate. Anyway, that's the thing, is when you walk in with a different lens and all you're used to is dealing with problems, you can foresee issues and preempt them. And that's another thing. I walk in, I see caulking, it's a little off. People are like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, well, you don't deal with that, then it's gonna get under, and you're gonna get mold, you're gonna get this. Like, being proactive, being preempting issues. That's part of the process.
How do you deal with screening international students?
Good question. So, strategies. You're not supposed to, as an agent, ask for many months in advance, but if the other agent, so you can kind of allude to that,
The one who's bringing
offers it, so you can create that into your risk model. And we've done it where they've given like 6 months or more of rent in advance. So
Voluntarily.
Sorry?
Voluntarily.
Yes, you don't
Yeah.
write anything in writing, you don't get yourself in trouble. You just kind of go, this would be nice because there's no other way we can go after these people if something happens. So you get strategic. Yeah, yes.
We have 2 properties just outside of Las Vegas that are and have been fully managed from the day we took possession. That company gives us a year-end statement of all of the rent, the management fees, and then all of the expenses that they've paid for. Is that something you do at the end of the year?
We do that, but we also we use Google Drive, where our clients could at any time go in and each month they have all their expenses backed up. So they can go, if they want the PDF of whatever the plumbing, because it's a pass-through. So it's, if your client's, company ABC, and it's a company that owns the property, then the invoice is made out to company ABC, they can print it out, they can, let their accountant get in there. We also have an accounting software that's web-based where their accountants or the clients can actually go in and access their information as well. So it's all done real time, all done virtually. And so when you get your statements, you just go into Google Drive anytime and you can just access it. Like at any time I can go in my phone and just, see the stuff. So it's really convenient.
When you're dealing with a property and you're managing it and there's a tenant in there, and do they call you when they have an issue rather than the landlord?
Yeah, well, that's
the reason.
Yeah, some landlords want to get more information, so we'll have like monthly meetings and that type of stuff. But absolutely, we're there to make the landlord, live comfortably. The only time we engage the landlord is if there's a real issue, like we have to give an actual notice, like because something went wrong, someone had a noise complaint or something, and we've had to issue them an N5 because we're doing it on behalf of the landlord as well. So, but in general, most landlords, it's kind of like the idea or the image that a lot of agents sell is this poolside income. So they want things managed well, and they want their money, and that's it. And then they refinance or whatever, pull money out and buy nothing. That's kind of the plan.
Do you have any business cards on you?
I do.
Yes, thank you.
I'll take one.
Yeah. So we've changed our office line, but this is it's our emergency line. So if you hear someone say you've reached the Mekler emergency line, that's the phone number here. If you guys want a card.
Are you located in Toronto?
Yeah.
Tell them where.
I personally live on Brookdale, so this is a real check for me.
What number? Are you in the first, second, third?
Close to school.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to sell your house to me?
That's why they clapped.
But that's not with the tenants and clients and everyone. We have we never give our personal information or anything like that. So it's all the mailing, the office, all that. Nothing. If your clients are ever going to self-manage, get them to get a PO box. Don't ever let the tenants know where you live.
You have to put it on the form though, on the standard.
Yeah, an address.
Pardon me?
An address where they can send stuff to. They don't tell them.
Doesn't have to be a residence.
You don't want a tenant knowing where you live.
Yeah.
Some
Oh,
of
he
them are
does now.
interesting people.
Yeah.
You use this one?
I know where
Sorry?
it works.
Yugoslav?
Me?
Yeah.
Russian.
Oh, Russian?
Yeah. Actually, the same name as the person who owns the Chelsea soccer team. If you Google my name, you're not going to get, you're going to get a billionaire with no relation to
Unfortunately.
Roman Abramovich. I don't know how he made his money. But...
Which website?
Sorry?
Is she Abramovich too? The real estate agent? Your wife?
No, she's Garen. Karen, Christine Garen.
Thank you.
Where she work?
Well, Paige, but I should. Okay, you're talking to her.
Oh. Say that again.
Which
Say that again.
I'm sorry, was there an agent that worked in a different company that we should be talking to?
Which office, yeah?
I think the one in, there's a Mills one, right?
Oh, yeah, you're.
Yeah.
We used to.
Yeah.
It's all field work.
Well, this would be much more convenient.
Yeah, she's.
What's her name?
Christine
Christine?
Garen.
You should be not active.
So she's not like, you'll never see her signs and stuff because really she's
That's your stuff.
Those are an
she's just renting places out, like when we need to put stuff on.
Keeping the
One more
license.
question.
Yeah.
I was dealing with representing renter or tenants, dealing with some horrendous landlords in the application process for David and Alex. And it was up in East Willowbury or something, and they were looking at like $4,000 or $5,000 places. And it's a couple, they're like a gay couple, and the landlords were like, "Oh, where's the woman? What is the relationship with these men?" And I said, "The relationship with these men is none of my business. I have not asked these questions. It is none of your business. You are not asking these questions." And he said, "Well, we won't rent until we meet them. Where's the woman?"
So there's two ways to approach this. If they want to escalate it, of course, this is like one of those human rights things.
Yeah.
But ask your clients, do you want landlords like that?
Well, that's
So there's a flip side. Whenever you deal with unreasonable people, you have to ask yourself, life's short, how much do I want this fight? And so I broker a lot of deals where people are, like, tenants leave and everyone, and the landlord, it's done through this kind of, do you really, or tenants share a wall and they go nuts and they fight and they battle and whatever, and so someone eventually leaves because that's the only way to do it. So you have to ask, like how much is my personal time? Like, what's worth, like, even when you look at simple things like commuting, and someone's like, well, it's downtown, paying like an extra $1,000, I can get something way bigger up north. Then you go, well, if you commute 1 hour one way, that's 23 days you've lost in your year. So how much, do you ever like factor that number in? And how important is it? So how, like their health.
Yeah.
Like, is that important enough for them to deal with a crazy person who's
1
not
month
like?
But I didn't know, we didn't end up
1
using
year.
that guy, but I didn't know from the crazy emails I was getting from the landlord.
To emails, they put this in writing. They put this in writing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's up to your clients how they
And
want
the,
to do it.
and the tenants,
They
the
could
tenants
be
a
a
judge.
Oh, yeah, the tenant's a judge. One of the tenants is a judge.
So the judge can kind of decide how he.
Yeah, she was like,
or,
screw these guys, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
didn't care, but I got
You got offended.
pissed off. at these
Yeah,
guys.
well, there's,
We never would have guessed.
you'd be surprised at some of the kind of,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of ignorant people,
Yeah.
right?
Well, because people don't know that they can't discriminate, that's why.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And people
don't
put
know
it right
that.
in their ads too
That's
sometimes,
why
which is
people are
really
not
interesting when I read them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no one in like the human rights tribunal, like our guy that works for that department, like goes through these things, because there's always like some seriously bad professional couple, young people don't bother, like
Yeah.
weird things. Like, you never ever give them a reason. The only time you ever have to give a reason of why you didn't rent to somebody, in a very unique situation, is with assignments. So you have a current tenant, and they first of all, they write to you in writing, I'd like to assign the place.
Oh, sublet.
Yeah, no, sublet's different.
Assign, like.
Just, there's a big difference. I can tell you the difference. The assignment, if you don't respond in 7 days, they have the right legally to give you 30 days notice, not 60, but 30 days. So you better respond within those 7 days about their assignment question. Now, if you elect to have them go through the process of assignment, you could obviously, you get to do the vetting, you get to say I approve as the landlord or the agent or whoever. But if you don't approve, you have to give them a reason, and a legitimate reason based on that. You have to go through the act and see what are legitimate reasons, because if you give them a crappy reason, that's not good enough, and you might have to be forced to keep them. So it gets really, that's the other thing about legal stuff and tenants, it can get into the deep weeds, and before you even know it, you're stuck.
Okay, what's
And
the
you're-
assignment?
So that's the assignment.
Okay, what's an assignment?
So assignment means you're actually giving someone full responsibility to take over that lease at that same
Yeah, you're
amount.
walking away.
You can't assign more, you can't sublet more.
Is the sublet the same?
No.
So
sublet, you're
subletting
still on the
is
hook.
you're still on the hook. You're still
Oh,
responsible.
okay,
I'm going to
yeah.
Europe for
Yeah.
3 months, I'm gonna go party for 3 months, I'm
Yeah.
gonna come back, I'm gonna sublet my place. Assignment is, I'd like someone to
I'm
take over
out.
my lease, getting divorced, this, that. I can't
Same
continue to,
idea.
You're still not responsible, you're no longer responsible for that lease?
if it's been approved and so, and you found somebody else.
Yeah, oh, okay.
But if you find someone crazy, and even if on paper they're good, but they're crazy, it's a lot harder to go, I didn't like that person, they are crazy.
I got a weird
And your
vibe.
tenant will
Can
find
you,
that
can you contract out of assignment in the original lease as a landlord?
Assignment, it's in the act. So if someone wants to assign.
So when you put the lease together with as a landlord, you cannot say,
No
there will
assignments?
never be an assignment.
So what it is now, is everybody has to follow, it's a standard
Standard
lease.
lease, right?
And that's the governance and supervision.
And that's
Everyone
the
I
clause.
recommend to put an addendum.
Yeah.
And throw in the kitchen sink in the addendum, smoking pot policies, blah, 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 blah. Airbnb policies, VR, like whatever, throw in a million things in there. But really what's the governance is the standard act. So
The standard act.
that's a different president, I'm just kidding.
And that allows you to potentially sublet, providing that, isn't there a clause in there that will allow
You're
the
allowed to.
existing to sublet? So the
Pending
landlord,
approval,
pending
approval.
Yeah,
approval,
If you
always
don't do it,
pending
that's
approval.
grounds for eviction.
Right,
But it's a whole,
pending approval, but they have to
I
do
deal with
their
that all
due
the time
diligence
where,
too.
where client, where, you know, midway through tenancy, someone's like, oh, lost my job, oh, I have a this, and then so you have to work with people. I'm always like, oh, okay, but you know, you're responsible, so you're gonna pay the real estate agent fees for relisting it. Someone's a cooperating agent, this and that, you know, like you work with people, of course, but if they don't know really what their rights are fully, I'm not saying you bend it against them, but you make them accountable. There's a lot of young people that don't always take responsibility.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, sorry. I'm like, well, here's what you're gonna do to make it better. So, you know, it's just about being creative and protecting, because if your investor now has to fork out another X amount of dollars for a tenant location, midway through, how good is their model for investing?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you gotta get,
That's my plan.
you gotta work with people. But in a way where like you're reasonable, right? You're not like barking orders at them, you're like, hey, how are we gonna fix this? I always used to ask businesses, like, they're like, well, it's a little bit outside our budget. So I'd ask them, well, what do you guys do in these situations? How do you guys get more money when it's outside your budget? Put it back on them. How are you gonna solve your problem? You're not their fixer. They can do something themselves too, right? Like your clients, right? Well, we're a little short. How are you guys gonna fix that? Who are you gonna talk to? Like your family? Anyway.
Wow.
So hopefully you guys found
Yeah,
this
Leo, thank you so much.
useful.
I will see you.
Yes. Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Irene.
My pleasure. Thank you for imparting your wisdom on us.
Okay.
So Leo, you had 95 a month for a condo, 150 for a house, and how much was it for a
Duplex is $220, and then add additional units, $55. So if it's a triplex, it's a $275. If it's a fourplex, it's
Another
Another,
another 55. If it's a sixplex, it's $440. So it's just doing math.
I lived on Brookfield as a kid.
Uh-oh.
Leo?
Did you?
Yeah, 299.
No way.
Well, my friend is 225.
It's a great street.
I know, I almost bought a house there actually in November.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it's this neighborhood.
Andy, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing?
I know.